Danite Radio.
Welcome to the Godcast.
You could hear it.
Yeah, I could.
You can hear the echo? How did you hear the echo?
Because it was playing through the speakers.
Do you want me to play it for you so you can hear it?
No, I just don't know why it's not working.
Wait,
no, don't!
Do it.
I don't care that much. We've started the podcast.
Hey,
I'll take control here.
Feedback if you keep
Listen,
screaming.
Rocky. Do you hear the echo? You gotta talk.
No, I don't. Now I do.
Okay. Now it's gone?
Now it should be gone.
Is it gone now?
Yes.
All right. Let's leave it, dude. Behind the scenes magic. For our
Fix that in
listeners.
post.
In case you can't tell, we're having an argument about nothing right now. Welcome back to Danite Radio.
Sorry for the long break, folks.
And we're high flying now.
Why?
We have our own intro song that isn't stolen from an official band. So be excited if you recognize that riff.
Are we playing that this week, though?
Yeah, I'll put it on this week.
Even though it's a Godcast?
Oh! Dang it, I forgot. Welcome to the Godcast.
Way to go.
Super professional over here.
We're
This
dope.
is why they pay us the big bucks, folks.
So, what do you say, since we're already into it, you go get our surprise guest.
All right. It is Mother's Day. We got a surprise guest. If you haven't guessed who it is by now, you're wrong. The reason she's not down here is because we're trying to make her escape undoable. Make it so she can't escape.
So she has to be.
Yeah, so can you guys hold it together while I go? What are you going to talk about? The fights? Talk about the fights.
Ooh, yeah. No, I have a better story. So,
Tell the story.
this past weekend, I was helping my dad fix some water lines at his house.
Okay.
I jump in his work truck, go to pull it into the driveway so we're not blocking the entire road. And just about a foot out of the driveway, I get passed by a little Ford Ranger going about 60 in a 25. Nearly hits two of my dad's vehicles. Turns out they were on the run from officer-involved shooting.
Oh.
Nearly killed me.
Where am I going?
Right there.
Glad they didn't.
Yeah, it was real exciting.
Glad they didn't kill you, bro.
Dude, are you sure that's going to be loud enough? The little wavy lines aren't very big. And mine are.
No, I'm not positive.
We can
Yeah, they're loud enough.
Sounded good to me, bro.
gotta mute that. There we go.
Ah, we were all echoey.
We're super professional down
at
here.
this. All right.
Anyways, welcome, Mom, to the Godcast.
Our special guest, Mother, which is perfect because she's the temple going queen.
For sure.
The Godcast is on Mormon temples, so. But first, we want to get some Mother's Day interviewing out of the way.
Okay.
Does that work
speak
for
up.
you?
Don't be afraid to
Sure.
give us your loudest teaching voice, your loudest motherly voice.
What was it like to raise me?
That's what you're starting with?
That's pretty broad, but let's see. There were times when I wanted to kick your butt, but there were times when you were the sweetest kid and
Only like one or two. Don't get your head all big.
you loved your siblings till you, I don't know, some of them you loved too much. And you were good to them, especially when they were babies. You always took care of them. You were only 3 when Pebbles was born, but you loved her and you wanted to, change her diaper. And then by the time Shadow came along,
Yeah.
I remember we were...
Which was 4 kids away, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were big enough. You were hauling him through the mall in a backpack and
And he was heavy.
everything. Yeah.
He wasn't heavy. He was my brother, but my gosh, that kid was heavy, dude.
You
I
were
do remember
you were
that.
a good kid. You had your struggles, but
Thanks, Mom. That's definitely not what I was going for, but I appreciate it.
You're a terrible person now, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I always knew it was in there.
Sweet.
The follow-up question then is, what was it like to raise me?
I was thinking about this story.
Oh boy.
Because
Yours came
Deacon
early.
We
asked
started
me
it heavy.
if I remembered Samuel Gadd, a kid he went to school with. Do you remember Samuel Gadd, Shadow?
I don't know. It sounds familiar. Sounds like I should.
When we did the
You
trek.
went to school with a Samuel Gadd?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, okay.
And I
yeah,
thought
I was
about
thinking, okay,
that
that's why I
experience
remember.
on Trek when you walked for
Yeah, I
Samuel
hate this
Gadd.
story.
And I didn't prepare like I could have for the trek and really get to know the person that I was walking for. And I can't even remember what her name was, but you somehow prepared and you represented our family and you got up and you talked about this Samuel Gadd that you walked for, and that was when I knew how close you were to the Spirit because you nailed it. And it was,
He was a spiritual powerhouse.
yeah, even you were like, I don't know, 10 or 11, and you just,
So I guess
Nailed
to fill everyone in, Samuel Gadd was a member of the Willie Handcart Company, and he died when they got into, what's that place called?
Martin's Cove,
Cove.
No, it wasn't Martin's Cove. It was where the Willie Handcart Company stayed.
Rocky Ridge.
Huh?
Rocky Ridge?
Yeah, after they got over Rocky Ridge, he died in the basin that they found shelter in. And so I was assigned by the bishop to walk for him and tell a little bit about his story. And I got up and cried like a little kid, because I was a little kid. I was like 11, and I just didn't really have any concept of how to talk about death.
But you did. You did a fabulous job, and
Well, thanks, Mom.
I was really proud of you. And I knew you would always be close to the Spirit, and you have not disappointed.
I try. I do my best. But your question. Oh, what was it like to raise Jace, Mom?
Let's see.
All 3 years of it.
Yeah. You've been a good addition to our family.
Thank you.
Oh, she's the best. We came down here to like appreciate her, and she's over here appreciating the heck out
Tell
of
us how much you like us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Aren't we dope?
Whose plan was this? I guess I'll start with that then. The appreciating of the mom. I owe everything I am to my mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
They raised us right. Anybody that knows us knows we're a colorful bunch. That might be the understatement of the year.
And everything except for skin color.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. We're pretty pasty.
Then we're pasty, but
But we owe all that to our mother and father, who raised us and raised us well and taught us to love and to follow what you believe in and do what you believe in no matter what the cost is. And we owe all of that to them, I think. Would you agree?
indeed. Like I said, my mom's a temple queen. Goes once a week.
Twice a week.
I'm pretty sure I owe my coming to Christ to her service in the temple. Between her service in the temple and my dad's service in his callings. Not that she's not stalwart in her callings as well, but dad's a particularly go-getter. But mom is very go-getter when it comes to the temple, which I think I got from her. I think we both got that. Both really enjoy the temple. I think that we're both super sensitive to spiritual visitors from the other side, and I think we get that from our mother as well. I don't know. I wasn't gonna get into this yet either. Dang, bro. Do you want to appreciate it real quick, and then we'll get into the other thing, Jace? Or are you done? You want to save it for your mom? You save it for your mom. We don't want to make it jealous.
I'll make mine general. Some people don't have moms, and they're in a different position than we are. But for those of you that do, and for those of you that have good moms like us at this table seem to have, they make a huge difference in your life. And they seem to be the kind of person that you can go to with anything. You don't have that feeling of like apprehension when you need to talk about something or have a question. And that's something where moms really step up and take the cake. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed and appreciate about my mom and your guys' mom as well.
So, my mother had a lot of adversity in her life. I'm not going to get into that because I don't know how much she wants to share. But I firmly believe that God put that adversity in her life so that she could raise a guy like me.
Absolute heathen and a Gentile.
Yeah. So,
I guess we're all Gentiles, but a heathen.
there's a lot of... no, we were adopted in, bro.
Oh, you're right.
We're Jews now, so shh, don't tell any Nazis. Anyways, so I think that's... I'm sure that, there was no mistake that I came to this family with this mother because of just some of the experience she's told me about. I can see now how they were training her for a guy like me.
So what he's trying to say, as a reward for your hard trials as a youth, you got hard trials in the form of a youth.
You're welcome. You're welcome. How old were you when you took your IQ test?
I don't know.
And what'd you score?
I don't remember.
I thought it was like super high though.
It was high.
Like a 170 or something?
You'd have to ask Grandma. It was high.
So she's like super bright.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Congratulations on being a genius.
Thanks.
Wish I'd have got some of those genes.
And you were born in Gary, Indiana?
Crawfordsville.
Is Gary even a real place in Indiana?
is.
It is?
How far is Crawfordsville from Gary?
I have no idea.
Is pool legal in Crawfordsville?
This kind of pool?
Yeah.
I think it's legal. Why?
Because I'm back to the music, man.
We're talking about everything we know about Indiana.
Anyways, so born in Crawfordsville, Indiana. Your dad was what did he do in Indiana?
He worked at a plant called Alcoa, and I don't know what they did.
Oh.
Steel plant, probably.
Alcoa sponsors...
Alcoa did aluminum.
Definitely not a Jew. Right? Which segment did they sponsor for us? Alcoa is the rims on the semis. They make the semi rims.
Oh, I can't remember. They didn't actually sponsor us.
why?
Jason got on his computer. He's like,
No,
"They
I know
sponsored you?"
Alcoa.
He's like Googling it.
I know Alcoa, and I was very confused
I
as to
stole
how
that-
that would happen in any way.
I stole that from Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla does a segment called Definitely Not a Jew. And it's Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew, but he never... It's not sponsored by Alcoa. He just went, Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew.
Yeah, I remember talking about it in one of our episodes. Though.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
Alcoa sponsored.
Alcoa is an aluminum producer, and
I didn't even know Alcoa was in Indiana, so you learn something new every day. That's cool.
their headquarters are in Pennsylvania.
Then you moved to... Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Just saying.
Then you moved to California?
Yes.
What part of California?
Pasadena.
What did he do there?
He worked at Oscar Mayer. He was a mechanic on their
On the Wienermobile?
hot dog
Oh,
equipment.
But the Wienermobile too. There just was less work to do on it.
Yeah. Just change the oil.
Dude, you know what they say about Oscar Mayer? He's got away with BOLOGNA.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering.
Bologna.
That was awful. Thanks.
Yep, I do what I can. It's a real
So,
song.
and your mom
bro.
did
It's for our
what?
older
Stayed home?
listeners.
Yeah. Until we moved here, and then
And-
she went to nursing school.
And became a nurse.
Yep. Worked at the training school.
And you had 3 wild sisters. And they really got wild in California, or did they start in Indiana?
In California.
Why did you move to California?
I think the story is so that they could get away from my 3 older sisters' real dad.
Oh, guy was a jerk, huh?
Yep.
Can't imagine that. Your 3 sisters are so nice. Anyways, and the older 3 sisters got wild,
Yeah.
loved to fight, do drugs.
Yep. I don't think my oldest sister did, but the second one did. She spent pretty much her whole life
Fighting and doing drugs.
doing drugs.
And
Did
your... So that was a particularly good motherly experience for me that I feel like I needed, and I feel like saved me from a lot of trouble. When I was like, how old was I when we went and got her out of jail?
15.
I was 15. We went like 2 a.m, got Aunt Julie out of jail. Julie died of drugs. Well, she died in a car accident,
Yeah.
drug induced.
I thought she was clean when she died.
She actually
But the
had started
driver
to
was
do better.
on
And
drugs or something, right?
yeah, the driver, her boyfriend, was
What?
on drugs. I don't know if at that time she had anything in her system, but he did. And
Because he tried to blame her, like saying that she was driving because he didn't want to get in trouble.
yeah.
Anyways, so, and I don't know. I'm sure none of Julie's kids listen to this, but if they do, I don't mean any disrespect. But, I mean, this was a reality in her life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this was a hard thing, and I'm sure that they're not listening, but if they are, I don't mean any disrespect. But we got her out of jail. I don't remember what she even went to jail for. We bailed her out, I think. And you guys never really got along that good, right?
We had growing up, we did. We got along really good, and then when she started to get into drugs, we drifted.
So it was the drugs that...
Yeah.
Okay. But she never would have called you, like, in a normal circumstance. Like, you were the last on the list to call, right, to get out of jail? Or did she call you often?
No, she only called me that one time.
Right. And so we go 2 a.m. Why did I go? You woke me up, it seems like. What was that about?
It was to...
A prompting?
It was to scare you straight.
So
Yep.
we get up, we go get her. And it was like, you know, she was crazy. She was on meth, you know, the typical whacked out meth lady. But we get to this trailer park, and the conversation starts narrowing down on where she lives. She lives with a guy. Do you remember his name?
No.
We'll call him Guy.
A guy who, if I ran into today, I think I'd probably have some firm words and even firmer fists for him. But she, in her crazy tweaker roundabout sort of way, she made it pretty clear that she was able to live there because she slept with him. And it definitely seemed like he was pimping her out. Am I wrong?
No.
And it was super eye-opening to the
15-year-old Rocky.
to the world that drugs could cause. And it didn't save me from a lot of things. I still loved the alcohol. I didn't realize the dangers that alcohol. But I never came close to anything hard after that because, dang, you know, it was. And it was hard, even harder, because like when it came out, when it happened, my mom just like gasped, and like we both clicked at the same time. Like it was almost like mom was like, "Oh, I brought my 15-year-old to see this, my sister getting prostituted out by this guy," but it really affected me. You know, it was a crazy story, but yeah, so.
Good to know that I listened to that prompting and it helped you.
One way my mother listened to the Spirit and really, you know.
And don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, don't do drugs. You
Yeah.
will end up getting pimped out by a tweaking POS. So, and it wasn't a trailer park, was it? It was like a rundown 2-story or something. I don't know.
It was a trailer park.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I thought I remembered driving through a trailer park, but then I thought I remembered pulling up to a rundown 2-story. So.
That was to pick up the cash after.
Yeah, maybe. So
That's a dark joke.
yeah, it introduced me to a world that I was soon, as far as like jail goes, I was soon to be in. I was already familiar with the jail thing when I went to jail because of this, but yeah. I also, it also opened my eyes that you don't want any of this, bro. But I also heard a statistic the other day. 50% of people murdered are drunk. And 50% of murderers are drunk when they do it? So, there you go.
Don't drink
That's
alcohol either, kids.
Straight out of the words. That's straight out of the mouth of Jordan Peterson, so.
It's probably a pretty accurate statistic then.
Probably.
Hopefully.
But Jason's going to check it and tell us we're
40%.
wrong.
is what the first Google option has, so that's
Interesting.
fair. I believe it. He probably dug more than the first.
So any similar experiences for you, or was that for the Black Sheep special?
Well,
Special for the Black Sheep.
I didn't ever need to go with my parents to bail anybody out of jail because
You got to see me go to jail?
yeah, I just knew that it was a place I didn't want to
You're
spend any time.
You're like, brother's probably getting prostituted out right now.
It's the only logical option.
Hopefully, he freaking learns his lesson though.
Towards the end, I think Julie was. I remember. I don't know how old was I that last Thanksgiving? Probably
She died in 2004.
so 17-ish. And I was going through some stuff, but I do remember going to Thanksgiving and she looked a lot healthier. She was a little chubby instead of tweaker skinny, and she wasn't out of it, you know.
Yeah, her
able to
birthday
hold
was
down a
the middle of October,
normal
and
conversation.
that was the first time I had seen her sober in years, and it was like I was getting my sister back.
Yeah, it was weird because I don't know, and I think it still is. I think there's a lot to meth that's permanent, but I'm surprised at how much the human psyche recovers from that, just because they are so out of it when they're on meth, you know, and then when they come around and they quit doing meth, you're like, oh, you can go like somewhat back to normal. Like you're never normal, you know, but like, wow. So
Yes.
interesting.
I guess I have a story I'd like to tell, and perhaps this can segue us a little bit into
All right.
talking about the temple. So when I went on my mission, Mom sent me with a notebook full of stories, and I've never told her about my experience with the notebook full of stories because part of me hated the notebook full of stories.
Hope it's a good one.
So do I.
But it was a notebook. I can't remember why she started it. She explained it in the first story, but it was about 6 months before I left. She started writing down spiritual experiences that she was having as I was going through this process to become a missionary and serve a mission. And there were probably 45 stories in the book. Just spiritual experiences she'd had, experiences she'd had at the temple. And I remember in one, she shared the story of how she started going to the temple one time a week, and then how she started going to the temple twice a week, which is what she's doing now.
Well, I don't go at all now, but
Well,
yes.
yeah, outside when
Yes.
when the quarantine lifts and the temple's reopened, she'll start going twice a week again, correct?
Yeah.
And maybe she can share a little bit more about that story if she so desires. I'm gonna skip the details because it is hers to share. But I remember she said that she goes twice a week and she puts her children's name on the prayer roll every week, or every time she goes, and then she just bore a short testimony that people were praying for me. And I remember the day that I read that particular story, it had been the worst day. I don't remember why. I don't remember why it was so terrible. But it was just hard, and I was lonely and did not want to be a missionary any longer. And I remember that story really helped me because not only were the missionaries in general getting prayed for at the temple every day because they had it in every prayer circle, but I specifically was being prayed for because my mom diligently went to the temple every week, or twice every week. And those prayers really did strengthen me and helped me through that period of my mission. And all of her stories did in some way or another. And I didn't like them because it was a lot to live up to. Spiritually, she is a giant. And it's a lot to try and comprehend when you realize that spiritually she's such a giant. And if you would care to, we would love to hear more of the story about how you started going to the temple. But it does throw Rocky under the bus a little
It does
bit,
kind of throw Rocky under the bus.
So it's up to you. You don't have to share if you're not comfortable.
How do you feel about it?
The folks at home, just be prepared for what you're about to hear. I know I I'm such a giant in your eyes, and I've never done anything wrong. So
Never. So this story will be eye-opening.
brace yourselves.
I would never tell any of your personal things, but it was a time in my life when
I'm an open book.
when I found out that you had done some pretty I don't want to say terrible, but things that I had hoped I didn't teach you. In fact, I know I didn't teach you. I tried to teach you the opposite, but
You know in Harry Potter when Ollivander says Voldemort did terrible things, great but terrible? Yeah, that's how they describe it. Terrible.
anyway,
Yet great.
I called a friend and it was midnight. I called her and she got out of bed and she got her scriptures and she started reading scriptures to me, and I don't know the exact verse. 2nd Nephi chapter, 29 or somewhere in the 29 to 31 range. And the verse was, every time you do something to serve someone else or in your calling or anyway in the church, you pray that that you can consecrate that service to your soul. She said that she would go to the temple and she would consecrate her service to the souls of her children. And she said she went every week and it had really brought miracles into her life. So I had been doing that for maybe, 5 years, going every week and praying for you guys and putting your name on the prayer roll. And I was starting to get burned out, and I was just praying, how can I love this as much as I should? And I was in the temple and I was sitting next to this lady, and she didn't say anything to me. We had no interaction, but I was just praying for help. And I got out of the session and I spent some time in the celestial room. And I got done in there and I went down and I was standing there and I was folding my packet. And I looked back and the lady sitting next to me was in the line to get another name. And I was like, I'm not doing enough. She can go twice in a row. I can go twice a week. And that was the way the Spirit was telling me that I needed to go more. And I've been going to the temple twice a week since, 2008. So
12 years for you math geniuses out there.
and every week since Rocky was 17. That's when I started going.
So that's like 40 years, right?
Yeah.
Got him.
You're welcome, Shadow, for all the temple blessings that I wrought upon this family through my
Yeah,
life.
for real. No joke, man.
Dope. Sorry I made you feel that way. Sorry to your friend for getting her out of bed at midnight.
She was very happy to do it.
I have
Who is that friend? That's a good friend.
Yeah. It's Lucy. She's been a good friend to me.
I
through a lot.
have
Good. Thanks,
many.
Lucy.
I guess I'm sure I'll be, for the rest of my life, be finding more and more people that I probably need to apologize to. So sorry, Lucy, to make you lose all that sleep.
You know,
Sorry from Rocky for doing that, but thanks from me because that's a lot of years of temple blessings that I received because of that action.
if you hadn't been who you were, I couldn't be who I am because of the amount of time I spent in the temple. So you had to go through hard things so I can be who I am.
Yeah, there are sometimes still sleepless nights from my past, but there are also many, many, many things in this life that I wouldn't, many wisdoms I wouldn't have if it weren't for my incredible stupidity as a child. So, yeah. But thank you, Mother. I love you. And that is an example of one dedicated a mother right there. And I hope that the spirit that's been here will continue with us through this podcast as we get down to brass tacks as to why the temple makes our church better than your church. But it does.
Way better.
So, for those of you who don't know, we go to the temple, we make covenants, and then we continue to go. So when my mom says she goes twice a week, you only make the covenants for yourself once, and then you do proxy covenants for the dead, the deceased. So, in defense of this church and the work that Joseph Smith has done through Christ, I want to follow that logical trail. So it amazes me how many Christians think that good people, such as Dennis Prager, are going to hell.
In case you haven't found
Because-
out, Rocky loves Dennis Prager. Loves it.
Because he refuses to get baptized.
Become a Christian.
So you live an immaculate life, a life far better than mine, but because you refuse to do one thing, you go to hell? You go to hell, and that makes sense to these people? That's a just God to these people? Sorry, am I too loud, Jace? I'm getting passionate. So, I just want to say,
Go for it.
and there could be other churches out there that have this, but this is the only church that I've heard of or seen that allows for those saving ordinances to be done for people who, for whatever reason, can't accept them in this life. Don't get the opportunity to. Don't quite get the full spiritual awakening. I don't know. There's a million reasons why you wouldn't accept them. Obviously, billions apparently, because there's billions of people that haven't accepted them. And this is the only church that offers mercy to those people. And I believe in a merciful God. I refuse to believe that a man as good as Dennis Prager is going to go to hell while I hang out and sing to Jesus. That's another shot at Christians.
I love that you said because he refuses to do one thing, the example being get baptized, he's not allowed to go to the celestial kingdom or go to heaven. Mm-hmm. But in the pattern of the Savior Jesus Christ, that's just not true. The Lord commands us to be perfect. That's one thing. One overarching commandment, be ye therefore perfect. I failed. I refused to do that one thing time and time again. But the Savior, by proxy, took the punishment for our sin and enabled us to be saved regardless of that. He took the entire burden, gave us the opportunity to have faith in him and be saved. And in the model and pattern set by him, we do temple ordinances for other people. It is the most Christ-like action that we can take on this earth. You're making that disbelieving face at me. What?
You mean to tell me that when the Savior died for all those people who had already died, he wasn't practicing death magic like the Mormon cult does?
Who told you that?
That's what Christians think, dude. That we practice death magic.
Where did you hear that?
That's a new one for me.
I follow a lot of anti-Mormon people.
I have never heard the death magic part. I've heard like they baptize dead people. I've heard things like that, but never heard it called death magic. I love it. I'm telling people I do
That
death
one's
magic.
from protesters at General Conference.
Oh, nice.
So, not death magic, folks. Jesus did the same thing.
So there's an overarching description of what we do in the temple that then took a detour to we love it. We love doing proxy work in the temple, and it is wildly important to our faith and who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people have these huge testimonies of the Book of Mormon, and when they struggle with things that the church is doing, they can always fall back on that testimony of the Book of Mormon. And I've seen a lot of people who continue to go to this church only because of the witness that they've received of the Book of Mormon. However, me, through the actions of my mother and through my own experiences in the temple, because of what I've seen from my mother, I also try and go to the temple once a week. I don't always do it, but I always get back on course eventually. And
such an interesting lesson in repentance.
Oddly enough, my anchor testimony is the temple. Anytime I struggle with something in the church or something that I feel like, I disagree with that the elders do or whatever, which, believe it or not, in this cult is acceptable, because that's how most cults operate, I just look back and say, well, you've had too many experiences in the temple to turn back now, to not believe that this is the way it's going, that this is the Lord's church and that he's behind what's going on.
Truly.
In rooms that I don't understand anyways, so.
You have no concept of what's going on.
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
Yeah, the temple is a magnificent place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on the temple from what we've said? It's not super open-ended, but what's going through that brain of yours?
I actually have had a lot of experiences. Most of the time, it's either in the new name booth that I have a prompting,
Mm-hmm.
or it's at the veil.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing an endowment for my grandma, my mom's mom. And I was in the new name booth, and I know that she walked right in behind me. And I know that she was there with me the whole time. And
She didn't want you messing up her work.
nope. She wanted to make sure I stayed awake and did it. And
170 IQ, my eye. I'm sticking with her.
it was pretty awesome, because I knew that when I passed to the other side, that she will be waiting for me. Then there was this one experience that I had. I went to New York with Lucy, and we went to the Manhattan Temple. And you're supposed to, it's a small temple, you're supposed to make an appointment. We didn't, we got there, and we hurried and got ready. The session was going to start, so we had to really hurry, and we got ready. And I went through into the new name booth, and I got a name. It was just a first name, and it was Hustafa. And I got my new name, and that's not something
that's not the new name.
That's not the new name. That was the name on the card.
Yeah.
Went out the other side, and they didn't want to let me in because the session was full. This session is full. There is no more room. Actually, there were 3 of us out there, and they could only take 1. And so I begged my way in. I said, my friend's in there. We're here visiting. I don't know what I would do if I didn't get in there. And so I talked my way in. They let me go in, and I got into the endowment room, and Lucy wasn't in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's not in here. So then I have to go back out, kind of with my tail between my legs after I talked my way in, and I said, she's not in there. I'm so sorry. Someone else can go. And the temple worker held his hand out for me to give him this card. And it was like a part of me was leaving. And I gave it back, and I went and found Lucy. She was in the dressing room. And I said the session started, and we didn't get in. And they took us upstairs. We did a few ceilings, and then they invited us down to do some initiatory, so we went and did that. And then one of the temple workers said, there is a new session starting if you guys want to get into it. So we hurried and got changed, and we went, and I was standing in line at the new name booth again, and Lucy went through, and then I went through, and the lady handed me the card, and it was the exact same card. And I knew that I was in New York City to go to the temple for that lady. And not only will my grandma be there waiting for me when I pass, but so will all of these ladies who I have helped to save and bring back into the Savior's fold.
The ones that aren't mad at you for getting baptized for them.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I couldn't help it.
Yeah, and that's just, I mean, it's experiences just like that have really anchored my testimony. And, yeah, I've had very similar experiences.
As have I. I don't know if I can share mine.
Yeah.
That's kind of the danger we discussed before we talked. The temple is a very sacred place, and a lot of things that happen there are not common knowledge. Yeah. And the reason they're not is because it's very sacred. But I can share this much. The temple is truly a place where heaven and earth meet. It's a place where the Savior Jesus Christ walks the halls, and his work is going forward there. People are being brought into the fold of Christ, both on this side of the veil and on that side, every time they go to the temple, because it's that powerful. It is a place where the power of Satan is non-existent. He cannot dwell there. He cannot be there, because Jesus Christ lives and dwells there, as far as living and dwelling on this earth goes. And it's pretty important that I share that much, because I truly believe the temple to be the house of God, and I can't wait till they reopen them.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for it. I don't say it enough, and I'm gonna start going once a week.
Weren't they supposed to start opening on the 11th? What happened?
It's
Just
a
for ceilings.
phased reopening. So they're starting with, I think, only living ordinance ceilings to start.
And that is only if both parties are already endowed. Because they're not doing any endowments, so the bride and the groom have to both be endowed previously.
Weird.
And I think it's only 17
When does that?
temples.
When do they go to the next phase? What's going on here?
I think it depends on the governor, on the government. It is 17 temples. Both Provo temples.
How are we doing
Because
on?
Provo's dope.
How are we doing on time, bro?
42 minutes.
42.
Yeah.
Do you got more, or do you got anything, Jace?
Nothing.
So, I don't know. I just, if you are struggling in life out there, if you are, if you got wild kids, if you've got kids whose behavior you never thought you'd see in your own offspring, or if you've got any sort of trouble, though, marital, parental, any sort of trouble, you need to be at the temple once a year, once a week. In my experience, I tried the twice a month, and it's once a week or nothing for me. I don't know why, but I know this. My sister just distracted me, so I don't remember what I was saying.
I know this.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Thanks, Dusty!
Yeah, I know that the temple will save your life. The temple will save you spiritually. It will save your testimony. Regular temple attendance is crucial to church membership, in my mind. And I also know this. God put this country on earth for a reason, and that reason is to grow his kingdom. And a major, major part of growing his kingdom is temple work. So, if you're a Latter-day Saint, you are not showing proper gratitude for this country unless you're in that temple. I'm sorry. I hate to be that guy that says things like that, but it's true.
And one step further, if you live in the state of Utah, you
Oh,
have
yeah.
no excuse
For sure.
to not be going to the temple.
For sure. That feels like we're calling you out personally, but we're not.
I'm good. You're not hurting my feelings. You can
So,
try.
You, get to the temple, folks. Show your gratitude. Get to the temple. Do what the Lord wants you to do.
I think that our prophet has said many times that the hard times we are headed toward, the only way we can be saved is to be in the temple and to be part of the Savior's work, how we can save ourselves.
Yep.
I know it saved me, and it's saved Rocky and a lot of people around me. And I also have a testimony that there's nothing we can't be forgiven of and get us back in the temple. If we haven't been for a while, do what it takes to get there. Because if you've never been, do what it takes to get there, because it really brings miracles into your life.
100%.
100%. And if you have anything to say about the temple, please put it in the comments, positive or negative,
Yeah.
because we'll destroy you if it's negative. And
Mm-hmm.
just kidding. But we'd like to hear it. We love the temple, and we love to hear all about it. So
That's right. Yeah. It's a very special place. It's like I said, I feel like, and this is actually not an original idea of mine. There are books about this. For example, the Washington Hypothesis by Timothy Ballard, the guy who founded the Underground Railroad. Operation Underground Railroad, not the Underground Railroad, but the Operation Underground Railroad. He wrote a book called The Washington Hypothesis that talks about there's a reason God covenanted with George Washington to create this country, and temples are it.
interesting.
We have to get these temples here so that we can move forward as saints. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll consider that issue pushed, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you for listening, and God bless y'all. Have a great week, unless you have something more to say.
Just want to say that I love you both, and Jace, you're just like one of mine. So love
Thank you.
Love you too, Mama.
Oh. All the love.
You're a dope mom. I wouldn't trade you for anything. And yeah, thanks for all your service to me, even when I didn't really want it or act like I appreciated it, because I didn't appreciate it because I was kind of a not
pill.
great
kind of a pill.
guy.
We're going with a pill.
So love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank
Happy
you.
Mother's Day.
Thank you.